The American farming industry, worth a staggering $34 billion, is in serious trouble, and John Deere is at the center of the storm. Farmers across the country are struggling, machinery sales are plummeting, and crop prices are in free fall. But why is this happening? And what does it mean for the future of American agriculture? Stay with us as we break down this crisis shaking the backbone of U.S. farming. And before we begin, make sure to subscribe for more updates on this unfolding disaster. Financial collapse of American farming. For decades, farmers in the United States have relied on stable crop prices to maintain their operations. However, the last 2 years have been devastating, with corn, soybeans, and wheat, the staples of American agriculture, experiencing drastic price declines. Corn prices have fallen by over 37%, soybeans have plummeted by 24%, and wheat prices have seen a shocking 35% drop. These numbers may seem like mere statistics, but for farmers, this translates to shrinking profits, mounting debts, and an increasing inability to afford the equipment they need to sustain their farms. With less revenue coming in, farmers are forced to hold onto older machinery for longer periods. However, when these machines break down, they face an even greater challenge: getting them repaired. And this is where John Deere's controversial policies come into play, making an already dire situation even worse. John Deere's repair monopoly. John Deere has long been the dominant name in agricultural machinery, but in recent years it has implemented restrictive repair policies that have left farmers at its mercy. Unlike in the past, when farmers or independent mechanics could fix a broken-down tractor with relative ease, modern John Deere machines are equipped with proprietary software that effectively locks out anyone who isn't an authorized John Deere technician. This means that if a John Deere tractor or harvester malfunctions, farmers can no longer diagnose or fix the problem themselves. Instead, they must rely on an official John Deere repair service, which is not only costly but also time-consuming. Some farmers report waiting weeks for a technician to arrive, all while their crops rot in the fields. The cost of these repairs is another nightmare. A minor issue that should cost a few $100s to fix ends up costing thousands because farmers are left with no other options. How global competition is making things worse. As American farmers struggle to afford repairs and equipment, competition from foreign markets is only adding to their woes. China, in particular, has aggressively expanded its agricultural sector, flooding global markets with cheaper crops and undercutting American farmers. With their government heavily investing in advanced farming technologies, China is producing food at a scale and efficiency that U.S. farmers simply cannot compete with under the current conditions. At the same time, Chinese and European agricultural machinery manufacturers are offering more affordable and less restrictive alternatives to John Deere. In some cases, farmers are choosing to abandon John Deere altogether, opting for brands that allow them the freedom to repair their own equipment without jumping through bureaucratic hoops. However, switching brands is not always an easy solution, as many farmers have already invested heavily in John Deere's ecosystem and cannot afford to replace their entire fleet of equipment. The human cost. To truly understand the impact of this crisis, we must look at the real people affected. Take Walter, a third-generation farmer in Montana who has been working the land for over 40 years. Walter depends on John Deere tractors to run his farm, but last season, his brand-new tractor abruptly stopped working in the middle of the harvest. Thinking it was a simple fuel sensor issue, he attempted to troubleshoot it himself. However, John Deere's software restrictions prevented him from accessing the error codes. With no other option, Walter called a John Deere repair service, only to be told that a technician wouldn't be available for another 2 weeks. Desperate to keep his farm running, he reached out to a local mechanic, but because of the software locks, the mechanic couldn't do anything. As the days passed, Walter's crops began to deteriorate, and he was forced to watch thousands of dollars in potential earnings rot away. In the end, the repair that should have been a simple fix cost him thousands of dollars in lost revenue and service fees. And Walter's story is not unique. Thousands of farmers across the country are facing similar struggles. Battle for the right to repair. As frustration with John Deere grows, farmers have started pushing back, demanding the right to repair their own equipment. The right to repair movement, which has been gaining traction across various industries, is now becoming a major issue in agriculture. Farmers argue that they should have the ability to fix the equipment they own without being forced to pay exorbitant fees to the manufacturer or wait for authorized technicians, which can lead to costly delays during critical planting and harvesting seasons. Some states have introduced legislation to address this issue, but progress has been slow due to strong opposition from agricultural machinery manufacturers. John Deere, along with other industry giants, continues to resist these reforms, claiming that allowing farmers to repair their own equipment could lead to intellectual property theft, software tampering, and potential safety hazards. They argue that modern farm machinery is highly sophisticated, requiring specialized knowledge and tools to ensure repairs are done correctly. However, critics see this as a deliberate strategy to maintain a monopoly over repairs, forcing farmers to rely on expensive proprietary services. Many farmers believe that they are being unfairly locked out of their own equipment, as manufacturers restrict access to diagnostic tools, software, and replacement parts. This battle has intensified, with advocacy groups and lawmakers pushing for stronger right to repair laws at both state and federal levels. As the movement gains momentum, some companies have begun making limited concessions, offering more repair options to appease critics. However, farmers remain skeptical, arguing that true reform requires full access to the tools and information necessary to maintain their own machinery. With increasing pressure from advocacy groups, legislators, and frustrated farmers, the fight for the right to repair in agriculture is far from over. What this means for the future of farming. If the current trajectory continues, the U.S. farming industry could be heading toward an irreversible collapse, with devastating consequences for rural communities and the national food supply. Many small and mid-sized farms are already being forced out of business, unable to cope with declining crop prices, rising operational costs, and restrictive repair policies imposed by major agricultural equipment manufacturers like John Deere. The result: large corporate farms are rapidly taking over, leading to further industry consolidation, reduced competition, and a decline in the number of independent farmers. This shift not only threatens the livelihoods of thousands of farming families, but also raises concerns about food security, as a handful of powerful agribusinesses gain even more control over production and distribution. For American agriculture to survive and thrive, significant reforms must be implemented. The government may need to step in to regulate restrictive repair policies, ensuring that farmers have the right to maintain and fix their own equipment rather than being forced to rely on expensive, manufacturer-approved services. Furthermore, broader measures should be taken to stabilize crop prices, provide financial relief to struggling farmers, and shield U.S. agriculture from unfair global competition, particularly from countries with lower production costs and fewer regulations. Without intervention, the $34 billion farming industry could face an unprecedented downturn, setting off a chain reaction of economic distress that would ripple across the entire food supply chain. Consumers may see higher food prices, reduced availability of locally grown produce, and increased dependence on imports, further eroding national food security. The fate of American farming hangs in the balance, and the actions taken in the coming years will determine whether small farmers can reclaim their place in the industry or be permanently pushed aside by corporate interests. Final thoughts. The situation facing American farmers is dire, and the role John Deere has played in this crisis cannot be ignored. Restrictive repair policies, falling crop prices, and global competition have combined to create a perfect storm, one that threatens the livelihood of countless farmers. The question now is whether the government, industry leaders, and farmers themselves can come together to find a solution before it's too late. What do you think about John Deere's restrictive policies and their impact on the farming industry? Should farmers have the right to repair their own equipment? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this unfolding crisis and other important topics affecting industries worldwide.